following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Keep your home as comfortable as possible. If you have any issues with your air conditioner, electrical, or plumbing systems, call Lee Company. Our techs use visual findings and other technology tools to add transparency and clarity. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on the roof. We're here 24/7, so if you need us, call us. Lee Company. Call 931-548-4448 today or schedule your appointment at leecompany.com. That's leecompany.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Devitt, and he and Tony Padilla did not see eye to eye. And then later on a play where T. Leonard blocks a shot on one end and beats everybody down the floor and gets an alley-oop dunk. Apparently, one of the moves now by people who can dunk, which I have no knowledge of, is that they tap the top of their head. Well, that's supposed to now be an automatic technical foul. Well, T, who has 36 dunks on the year, tapped the top of his head and got popped. And Coach McKevitt used that opportunity to rev the crowd up, and that broke open what at the time was a pretty close game. So it was a great home atmosphere, and you would only expect it to get better. And that was for a makeup date. So the students have been coming out in big numbers. Thursday night with Marshall, and then with Western, you would expect to close out the home season with really good crowds and a lot of excitement.
If you're going to that Western game, make sure you wear your blue. It is a blue out.
Well, if you're one of the first 500 fans, if you're one of the first 500, you get a T-shirt that is blue. So
if it's close to your size,
there you
can
go.
Wear it.
There you go. Oh, by the way, I think we just passed 222 on 222.22. So yeah. I've tried I tried to get that in on 222, but Chris was talking. So visited with Chip Walters here on Main Street Sports Today. And Chip, as we know, if the men are at home on Thursday and Saturday, then the women are on the road. They're trying to get their 20th win of the season as they go to Marshall on Thursday night and to Western on Saturday.
Yep, and that's exactly right. And they have been dominating the Player of the Week and Freshman of the Week honors recently, playing really well. Go to Marshall, as you mentioned, Thursday. Then Saturday, the women's game is at 2:00 in Bowling Green. The men's game is at 6:00 in Murfreesboro.
So they could be back.
There are those who like to make both of those games, and the schedule does leave that opportunity out there. And so
that's not as easy as it sounds, I don't think, especially with Nashville traffic being what Nashville traffic is nowadays. Be careful.
Well, I tell you, the hardest part after going to Bowling Green about a month ago is there's construction on the Tennessee side of the Kentucky line, and it's down to one lane. So that's the hard part about it, especially on a Saturday. But you've got that. You've got we're in the overlap now. Baseball, we're supposed to play today, but obviously that's not going to happen. And they're going to play at Belmont at Rose Park tomorrow. And then after opening against St. John's and Wilmington this past weekend, they travel to Conway, South Carolina, play at Coastal. Ironically, not playing against Coastal, but they're going to play Illinois, Ball State, and Rutgers on Friday, Saturday, Sunday over there. So a lot of stuff happening.
If you're playing at Conway, I'm not sure that you care who you're playing against.
That's
basically
correct.
If you're that close to Myrtle Beach. Want to give a quick shout out though to former Zion Christian standout Briggs Rudder, the sophomore in this first 4 games, is hitting .308, second on the team behind Fausto Lopez. So off to a pretty good start.
Do you know who's leading the softball team in average? Look at there for Laura Mealer.
Oh, goodness. Look at there. Man, that's awesome. So some area kids chipping in early for the Blue Raiders and the Lady Raiders.
Chipping in? You got it.
Yep, there you go. And, we got Spring Hill products. So we've got Zion. We've got, got a lot of folks involved there. But, and so it's busy time, but a lot of fun right now. And we want to see both these basketball teams finish strong going into the tournament, which will start, I guess, 2 weeks from today, actually, the opening rounds in Frisco and at the Cowboys facility there at the Star.
You, as you mentioned, all of the local products, you left for me. Columbia Central product, sophomore Jaden Ham is 1-0 in 2 appearances, 6 1/3 innings, 9 strikeouts.
Yep.
That dog will hunt.
There you go.
he's gonna be phenomenal for you guys as long as you can keep him. So
that's right. Well, he's here. He's got at least we got to get him. We get him for 3 years. So
Exactly.
hope that works out. He's been outstanding. You're right.
Great kid. Really enjoy him. Chip Walters, voice of the Blue Raiders, with us here on Main Street Sports today. Chip, we know you got a heart out, so we're going to get you out, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, boys, and we'll talk next week. And I we'll have to check out. I got to see what my flight times are because we are flying out on Tuesday next week, going to Charlotte. So I need to see whether I'm going to be on the ground yet or not when this time comes. But I'll be letting JP know.
Do that. We appreciate it.
All right.
Chip will be on the air tonight. The men's show, the radio shows, the coaches shows are tonight because of last night's
That makes sense.
basketball game. So
I assume that the women's show tonight as well.
Yes,
Okay,
both shows will be tonight. So if you're looking for those,
I'm sure Rick Insel is always a treat on the radio.
There's no question that would be worth it.
Yeah.
Just that's got to be worth listening.
Absolutely.
All right, when we come back is our hodgepodge segment. So plenty to get to. We're just going to kind of run through this. This will be kind of like part of the interruption where we just roll through the things. So
Sort of like, but not really. Yeah. Gotcha.
We'll be back on Main Street Sports today after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Keep your home as comfortable as possible. If you have any issues with your air conditioner, electrical, or plumbing systems, call Lee Company. Our techs use visual findings and other technology tools to add transparency and clarity. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on the roof. We're here 24/7, so if you need us, call us. Lee Company. Call 931-548-4448 today or schedule your appointment at leecompany.com. That's leecompany.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. High school sports is not all we do,
But it's what we do.
but it's what we do. So let's start this hodgepodge segment on Tuesday. With a little surprise. We talked.
I just hope you're getting all the twos in.
All of them.
Okay,
We're done.
just make
after
sure.
today.
Just,
So I wonder if they, if they were thinking about us when, having a Tuesday fall on 2. I wonder if it did. It probably didn't in the 1900s. So, of course, back then they were using all 4 numbers for dates. I bet you
Right.
a lot more than we do, because we're lazy. Let's be honest.
There we go.
That's why my name is Chris and not Christopher. but I'm lazy and didn't want to write the other 5 letters.
Anyway, I'm going to let you take that up with Chuck.
Oh, and he was angry with me in 2nd grade when I started it.
I know.
Green Hill girls basketball. We talked with Zach Womble yesterday about that District 9 girls cross region with his District 10 girls from which Gallatin defeated Beach last night in District 10.
Mm-hmm.
Green Hill takes down previously unbeaten Cookeville with a 3-pointer to win 29-28. The girl scored more than 10% of her team's points
on one shot
on the game winner.
What I like about this is, while we were talking to Zach yesterday, he let us all know where he stood on the shot clock. And because Zach was so verbose during our segment with him, I didn't really get a chance to respond. This is why I don't want the shot clock at the high school level.
Yeah, because Green Hill probably held the ball a lot longer than they normally would on offense, and they got good shots, and they were able to keep Cookeville from scoring quickly and give yourself a chance to win at the end of the game.
And that's what it's all about, giving yourself a chance to win. And if that's the style of play that you need to play to give yourself a chance to win, and you can play it, why should you be penalized for it, especially at the high school level?
Yeah, we've talked about you basically, you're at the mercy of the talent you have. You can't go get talent.
No.
At the public high school level anyway.
And for those that don't want to play against a team that's slowing it down, get out and play defense.
You can force them.
So
anyway,
congratulations to Green Hill. That's a huge victory for them and for that program in its 2nd year.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Moving on, Juwan Howard learned his fate yesterday. A 5-game suspension without pay, $40,000 fine.
Now, it was the university
who gave him the without pay suspension.
It was the Big Ten
who dished out the fine.
Okay. So he's been suspended for 5 games without pay by the university, and he's been fined $40,000 by the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's about $200,000.
Okay. All right. And meanwhile, Wisconsin coach Greg Gard, for his minuscule part in this whole situation, I hope you can pick up the sarcasm there, was fined $10,000 and will continue to coach his team. Now, this 5-game suspension, is that just game day? Can he continue to coach in practice? Do we know?
I think so. And here's that basically it's the final 5 games of the year.
Yeah. It's their last 5 regular season games.
Right. So he'll be able to come back and coach game day. I assume that he's probably able to coach during. I don't see why he wouldn't, but if it's without pay, it could be 5 games.
He's out until
basically 2 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. In and of itself, I don't necessarily have an issue with a 5-game suspension. I mean, there's no way around the fact that he should not have taken a swing at anybody.
100%.
Period. I mean, for too many reasons, you can't do that. Full stop. And so with that said, I don't want to use the word but. What I want to say is Juwan Howard was not and is not the only reason that what took place Sunday took place. And for other parties to have not been any more
held accountable,
yes, than they were, I have an issue with.
Including the person who got swiped at because he deserved to get swiped at.
Because he put himself someplace he had absolutely no business being.
I've just got a question. It's an interesting thought, Mo. And, when you get to divvying out, quote, punishment, if you will, in varying ways, what do you think what do you think is more level for this situation from your perspective?
I think if Juwan Howard was going to be suspended for 5 games for taking a swing at somebody, because I'm not going to say punch, if Juwan Howard was going to be suspended for 5 games for that, then Greg Gard should have been suspended at least 1 game for putting his hands on Juwan Howard. And the assistant probably should have been suspended as well for escalating the situation by coming in and making contact with a Michigan player.
That's where it gets crazy. Is why no punishment for the guy who, had he not put himself in that situation, Juwan Howard doesn't take a swing at him. And he put his hands on an opposing team's player.
Which, I mean, as if I'm a coach,
and continue to push through the pile.
If you put your hands on one of my players, you're probably going to make me more upset than if you put your hands on me.
That's right. So,
because I've gone into these players' families' homes and told their mamas and daddies that I'm going to take care of them.
I'm going to protect your child. I agree with you 100%. Yes, at least a 1-game suspension for Gard would have been
not sufficient, but certainly would have been a good faith effort on the part of the Big Ten, I think.
And yet,
there you go.
Before we get into this next one, I want to mention that ESPN announced today they have sold out their inventory for the women's college basketball tournament.
Their advertising?
All of their advertising inventory has been sold. That is pretty impressive.
Well, and it's pretty impressive, and I hope it sends a message to the NCAA, because if you recall all of the inequities that were unearthed last year between the men's tournament and the women's tournament, and how business was being conducted for both of those, hopefully folks will realize that there's interest in this. And even if there's not, I mean, that's not a reason to treat some student athletes different from others.
That's excellent news, and coming on the heels too of the USA women's soccer program and team. You know, the ruling that came down that equal pay is coming. There could be some more appeals, but you know how the legal system works. But I'm curious, Chris, if it mentions what the advertising was in previous years, if it has grown, or because, you know, now that there is some light on, you know, the 2 tournaments, hey, it's always been sold out. It could have always been sold out. I don't know.
You know, I don't know if it was sold out necessarily, but they made a big deal about it.
They should. That is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think,
especially if it wasn't sold out previously.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they would have written an article about it if it weren't unusual.
I think you're accurate on that.
That makes sense.
So, or maybe it's just really early for it to have been sold out. I'm not sure. I did not read that far into it, but I thought it was interesting news. Finally, we neglected yesterday to react to the news that Brian Flores has found a job in the National Football League. So that's unfortunate news for the XFL. But no, seriously, Brian Flores is going to be a what do they call it? A special assistant and coach linebackers.
Something like that.
Associate,
I don't remember. Associate head coach, was that
perhaps? And he will coach linebackers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which obviously one of
senior defensive assistant / linebackers coach.
I mean, that's great for Pittsburgh. They got a steal.
It's fantastic for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they got a steal.
Hey, it's Andrew the Earl.
Andrew the Earl. Speaking of we talk about the NFL for 13 seconds, and he shows up at the door. It's like saying what is into the mirror 5 times or whatever.
Don't say it.
Beetle.
Something like that. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting, and good for the Steelers. Again, that's going to be good for them. So anyway,
real quick, Rick Bozich, friend of the show, out of WDRB TV in Louisville has a piece up on their website. Don't let Juwan Howard, Michigan, Wisconsin dust up in post-game handshakes. I've not read all of it, but I think that's exactly. Certainly, if I'm Juwan Howard, that's what happens. My teams don't shake hands anymore. Sorry.
And don't blame them.
You just wave kind of like the ladies do. See ya. Yep. We're not doing this anymore.
All right, let's take a quick break. It is halftime, so we got to take a break here for halftime. And when we come back in the second hour, it is XFL, USFL news, and we'll talk to David Ubben of the Athletic and his Top 5 Tuesday. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today comes back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Keep your home as comfortable as possible. If you have any issues with your air conditioner, electrical, or plumbing systems, call Lee Company. Our techs use visual findings and other technology tools to add transparency and clarity. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on the roof. We're here 24/7, so if you need us, call us. Lee Company. Call 931-548-4448 today or schedule your appointment at leecompany.com. That's leecompany.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. So, typically this is reserved for not sports stuff, but since Andrew's in the building, we'll ask him about Harold Landry. Is he going to get the franchise tag, or are we going to sign him long term?
How much is that franchise tag?
$17 million, I think.
That's what he wants, anyways, isn't it?
I mean, if it is, then let's go for it.
So what you're saying is we could sign him for what the franchise tag is.
I get a little nervous when it comes to players hitting that potential that you want them to hit in that contract year. Now, Harold Landry has gotten better each year that he's been on this roster the last 4 years. I would take the chance at the franchise tag, see if he can do it 2 years in a row. Have him with Bud Dupree 2 years in a row. But, I mean, I was actually just texting my friend. I said this offseason and the few weeks before free agency is starting to make me really nervous because I'm stressed out and I don't know what's about to happen. There's a lot of rotating players on this roster going into this offseason.
I think the big thing, though, Andrew, when you franchise somebody is it kind of sets up the possibility of there being some animosity because you're forcing somebody into a deal rather than, maybe treating them fairly. And so if the guy is looking for $17 million anyway, why not just sign him to a deal?
because you may not want him long term, 2 or 3, 4 years.
This is the guy who played the second most defensive snaps on that defense behind Kevin Byard, I think.
You asked the question. I just answered it. I'm not arguing. I'm just answering your question. That's what.
And that's fair.
And here's the thing about that is this. Harold Landry is the guy that we've been trying to draft for 5 years.
Right.
Just 5 years.
The guy. Well,
it's been a long time.
I'm talking John Robinson.
Okay.
So
fair enough. Yeah.
Over that time period, he's been trying to draft this guy.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can be that guy. Sign him. Sign the man. Give him his money.
Give that man his money.
Why not?
All right. Let's get out of here and come back and talk XFL, USFL in hour 2. David Ubben, Top 5 Tuesday. Y'all stick around. Main Street Sports Day comes back after this.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
It's the second half of Main Street Sports today. Coming up, a little XFL, USFL conversation. Top 5 Tuesday, plus NIL with the Athletics. David Ubben will be our guest. So come on back, sit back and relax on this rainy Tuesday. Main Street Sports today. Back to the Lee Company studio with the Hall of Famer Mo Patton. Here's the Sundrop Kid from Alabama, Chris Yao.
Actually, he didn't even have. It's been a while since he hasn't had my mic turned on, but he didn't have my mic turned on.
You jumped me.
Well,
I had asked him to do it because I was.
He was in the middle of something, so it's actually not the Sundrop Kid bringing you back.
Well,
it's all good.
We just audible
right.
over here.
Yeah,
it's
you
okay.
did audible.
It's all good.
Yeah, I missed the sign. Oh wait, there was no sign.
Well, you were talking because I
was a
wasn't
little
quite
busy.
ready.
Yeah.
You were talking. He was typing. I was the only one not doing anything. So, yeah. Anyway, we're back.
Welcome back
from halftime here on Main Street Sports today. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Chris Yao.
Yes.
That's JP Plant not turning on everybody's mics. And
Ouch.
This is Andrew the Earl Moore, who you heard during halftime talking Little Titans, and Harold Landry. And as you know, if you've listened to the show for any period of time, Chris is a big minor league football fan. I mean, USFL, XFL, Arena Ball, AF2, whatever it is.
All of it.
Chris finds it, all of it. All of it. I mean,
I just missed the Music City Fire that we don't have anymore.
I think there's hope that we're going to get them back next year. Yeah, but you can see the helmet there, the steel dogs over there. That's all
and
Chris's
the actual
stuff.
Steel dog.
Oh, there's an actual steel dog down there as well.
Bobblehead, Rusty.
Oh, you mean JP didn't break that?
No,
one?
he didn't break. He didn't break that one.
Oh yeah, give me time.
He just broke Dyson.
Dyson, yeah,
twice.
Yeah,
it's a tough SOB.
Yeah,
He really is.
I guess we can't have Dr. Dyson on anytime soon, huh?
He wouldn't turn his mic on.
Right.
Oh.
So anyway, have I stalled long enough for you?
Well, so here's the thing. XFL made a big announcement yesterday, and Andrew, you may want to chime in on this as well, because the XFL and the NFL have basically agreed to ask the XFL to do some unique things as far as innovation to rules and that sort of thing. And we'll get into what we would change about the NFL and about pro football in our top five innovations that we would make. But I think this is really interesting because, the XFL president is Russ Brandon, who was an executive for the Buffalo Bills for like 20 years. And, a lot people don't want to change things in the NFL because it works. But there are some
Does
things
it?
that don't.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, it's not hurting their pocketbook, is my point.
Which is all that they care about.
Which is all they care about.
But you can still improve the game.
You can.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is they're going to, and much like the AAF did some things, the XFL 2020 did some things that, just a little bit unique, but that aren't so far-fetched like a, running 50 yards to a football for a coin toss type thing. So,
yeah.
So I think this is a big deal for the XFL because it gives them a little bit of legitimacy, right?
I think it is. I was intrigued by the lengths that XFL co-owner and chairwoman Danny Garcia went to clarify that the XFL will not be in the position of developmental league for the NFL in this release.
At least not for the players, apparently for the rules.
Yeah.
And equipment.
We are extremely pleased to collaborate with the NFL in these important areas. We're bringing forward an XFL that is progressive and forward-thinking when it comes to innovation, leveraging the newest technology to enhance game day experience. We have an open field for innovative rules to enhance in-game access. Sharing insights and practices between the XFL and NFL will do a tremendous amount of good for the game of football and support the player ecosystem overall.
Understand, this is not the XFL becoming a minor league to the NFL.
Yeah.
This is simply you give us it is going to be a minor league for their officials, though, which is a big deal. Because a lot of times college officials who are white hats in college end up being their original positions back in the NFL. So they might have to take some time
to get reacclimated
right
to the positions that they
to becoming a back judge or a line judge versus
a white
hat. And that makes sense. And with what we've seen in the NFL and officiating recently.
Every little bit helps, huh, Andrew?
It does.
So, but this is good for the XFL. I think this gives them some legitimacy, and I'm excited.
I think any opportunity, because the NFL hasn't really recognized any of its other spring competitors necessarily, other than like you said, the AAF and what they did with them, and we see how that worked out.
Well, if they'd have just paid their bills, right?
All right.
So here's the thing, and shifting gears to the USFL. Tonight is their draft, okay? They're going to draft, I think it's the first 12 rounds tonight. So what they did is they assigned a position to each round of the draft. So the first round is only quarterbacks. You got the draft pool over the weekend, I guess, of USFL quarterbacks. The selections have been made. All right. They've already made the selections, but they've not been announced. They'll be announced tonight at 6 p.m. Central. But there's no television for this. They're going to announce it via social media only. So
why would you not televise it?
Because it's not a draft. It is a meeting. So they're all in a big room and they're just passing out. It's kind of like the Elway draft. That's what it would look like, except there's no stage for someone to come up and say they've selected so-and-so. To me, the quarterback portion of it, the first 30 minutes, probably should have been televised. The rest of it, who cares?
Are these players coming out of – I don't know much about the USFL. Are these players coming out of college? Are these just all available players that they're able to draft?
So what they did is the players who wanted to be a part of it reached out to the USFL, or the USFL perhaps reached out to them, and they agreed to sign a contract with the USFL for 1 year. So everyone who signed their contract entered into the draft pool. From that pool, these 8 teams can select. One of those players that was selected, we know this for a fact, was Jordan Ta'amu.
The quarterback from Ole Miss.
The quarterback who played at Ole Miss.
And then at St. Louis.
And he was with the St. Louis Battlehawks. Okay. Big deal.
See, I pay attention to.
And he was one of the better XFL quarterbacks. Jeff Fisher has the #1 overall pick. I fully expect Michigan to be drafting Jordan Ta'amu. Fully expect it. But here's the cool thing. They actually brought everybody in They flew the 8 quarterbacks in, and they're going to announce them. I guess they'll have pictures with them and stuff. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Well, of course, it's the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can follow it tonight on Twitter at USFL.
At USFL.
Yep. You obviously hashtag USFL draft. There is a at _MarkCast, MarkCast. There will be a live pre-show on YouTube. They're going to give you draft analysis throughout the night. It's going to be real for them because these are guys who really understand and know these teams. You'll get live draft coverage from the MarkCast, _MarkCast on Twitter. His YouTube is there. Check it out. Recap will be up there as well. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be interesting.
They're going to go 12 rounds tonight.
Correct.
And round 12 will be quarterbacks as well.
That's correct.
And then rounds 13 through 35 will be in the second day. 280 players total will be selected.
That's correct.
So
it'll be interesting to see who shows up
and
in that list.
Apparently,
Bruno Reagan.
There we go.
Is in the list.
Is in the pool.
So I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am. So
where's the list?
There is no list. You
okay.
can't. They have not released the list. That's the thing is we don't know who's in it
until they get picked.
Or
don't.
And I think that's probably good for the player too, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, come back with us, David Ubben, talking NIL in the NCAA. It's going to be pretty important. So stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Keep your home as comfortable as possible. If you have any issues with your air conditioner, electrical, or plumbing systems, call Lee Company. Our techs use visual findings and other technology tools to add transparency and clarity. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on the roof. We're here 24/7, so if you need us, call us. Lee Company. Call 931-548-4448 today or schedule your appointment at leecompany.com. That's leecompany.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. And welcome back in to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton, JP Plant, and Andrew the Earl in the house. Glad to have you back in. I don't know. I know that after the football season, I don't guess we said, Andrew, you're still welcome anytime. And now we have some extra room in here. You're not stuck in a corner where you can't leave.
I'm still upset over what happened.
Aren't we all?
And just everything kind of on my business side of my life has been kind of shaken up lately. Yeah. So there hasn't been a lot of the time, but it's good to see you guys again.
It's good to have you with us, man. It's been too long.
It has.
Yeah.
This next segment, I was perusing The Athletic, as I like to do quite often, and I come across a really intriguing story about, the NIL, specifically here in Tennessee, because there's a company that is essentially used to, you couldn't have a name on the back of your jersey if you bought a replica jersey or whatever, or you couldn't put a player's face on a t-shirt and sell it or whatever. Now you can do all that. It's the Wild West. And so I thought, let's just get it told to me, because sometimes reading comprehension not my strong suit. So we reached out and found the author of said story, David Ubben of The Athletic, and he joins us now. David, thanks for taking some time, and I'm really intrigued about this, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, this I had not seen this article. Chris had encouraged me to read it, especially since we were having you on. I figured it might be a good idea. But Spire Sports is a Tennessee-centric college sports collective that is really been based out of the NIL concept. I mean, they would not be in existence were it not for that. And my concern, I guess, David, having not gone to a major college like a UT and looking at the impact that these guys are trying to have, is this will further distance the haves and the have-nots. Is that right?
I really don't think so. I mean, I think the money difference has already been huge. And I think everybody is going to still have similar amounts of money, maybe a little bit more. It's just going to be redirected. And instead of paying for a new paint job on the east side of the stadium, or some new chairbacks, or some additional seats, or a raise for the coach or whoever, some of that money is going to be going to players. So I don't think it's going to do much to the competitive balance. I don't think it's going to do much to the growing financial gap between players. Ultimately, all the big schools still only have 25 scholarships a year to give out. So I think ultimately this is a redirecting of funds. I think you might see some upward mobility from schools that have enough money to outpace some of their challenges, whether that's in-state recruiting talent or a smaller fan base or whatnot. If you've got a handful of really big boosters, that might give you a boost, to borrow a phrase. But I think ultimately things are going to look pretty similar, because the places that care about college football the most are the places that are most often most successful. And I think this is just basically the sort of the same ball game. I mean, I think I phrased it in the story. Money's always fueled college football. Just that money is going into a whole different engine, and that transition is happening right now.
Explain exactly what Spire is doing and how they are, I guess, attached to the University of Tennessee, specifically in this collective.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're not attached. I think that's a key distinguisher. I mean, ultimately, in a sentence, fans of varying economic status give them money, and then they offer deals to players in exchange for appearances at events that those fans would have access to, sometimes autographs, memorabilia, or social media posts. And in a nutshell, that's sort of what they do.
And by it being a collective, basically Spire does the legwork in recruiting different entities rather than the players having to do that or make themselves accessible to those entities, or the entities having to approach the players. The collective does that legwork of identifying businesses that might be interested in getting involved in NIL, and then takes it to the players. Am I describing that correctly?
No, not really. There's not a lot of businesses involved.
Oh, really?
It's more donors with Tennessee's interest involved. So if a player wants an apartment as part of his deal, they have relationships with builders in Knoxville. They say, hey, we got you an apartment. This is part of your package. If a player wants a car, they have relationships with donors in Memphis that own car dealerships and say, hey, here's this car, this is whatever you want. It all kind of works through them. And again, their deliverable is showing up at events that they run that those fans and donors of whatever level can have varying levels of access to it. And that's sort of, where you get your payments and your deliverable from. That quid pro quo is really all that's required by the NCAA as NIL exists right now.
Wow. Okay.
It's certainly interesting because what we're seeing, and you wrote this in the story, is that it's likely you're going to see something like this for every single school in the Power Five in the very near future. How do these, and maybe they don't, I'm not sure, but so when Spire has these Hendo Cinco t-shirts made and they've got the UT branding on it, are they licensing that through the same licensing company that's always licensed material and logos?
So Tennessee, it's different for every school, but Tennessee, their particular brand is basically just act and get it signed off on.
Gotcha.
They're not going to just give you free range over their logo, but they, from what I understand, have not been real stingy about that. I think they just want to make sure, and they know everywhere their logo is going to be used and not to free range, so that if somebody does something with a company that's going to be embarrassing for them, they can say, hold on.
Sure.
So ultimately, all the licensing and those kind of things are they have to sign off from, but Tennessee wouldn't really be motivated for any reason to lock that down. But basically, so Hendon Hooker would have, I'm sure I don't know exactly the terms of his contract. I'm sure he might get some cut of sales of those t-shirts, but he's on essentially like a retainer.
Gotcha.
He's getting, a certain amount of money for his, appearances at NIL events and autographs and all that stuff. And then, he might get a cut of the sales of the t-shirts. I don't know about that exactly, but, he's doing good right now.
Now, clearly, it's been said that, the schools can't orchestrate these NIL deals on the front end, but it seems like to me, I can see a scenario where if someone is on a recruiting trip, that there would be some free time built into their visit where they would be able to consult with a Spire Sports or someone like that wherever it is that they are visiting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's rules against media being on these being on official visits or being on recruiting trips and that kind of stuff. But for these sort of independent groups, there's no rule against that. So yeah, that's something that they can do. They can also go visit recruits, which I didn't know was happening. Really, really interesting. That's something they may want to do more of as they kind of grow this thing out and try to build some more relationships with some of these guys. So yeah, it's a whole new world, and that's kind of what we wanted to write about. But these situations are something that we have not seen in college football ever.
Yeah, besides Spire and the University of Tennessee, Dave, who else are you aware of that has a similar type organization to this?
I think right now there's about 28 around the country. Florida has 2, I believe. Auburn has 1. Interestingly, Alabama and Georgia do not have a public collective. A&M also does not have a public collective. But
that would be news to some folks.
Well, public collective is different than, I guess if you want to call them a shadow collective, because certainly money is flowing there from A&M, but there's not like Tennessee and like a lot of these places, like the Gator Collective, Texas Tech just launched the Matador Club. They've had a lot of these, they have websites set up to say, hey, you can donate here. And it's very sort of public and very easy to access. Some of these are not quite like that. Texas actually has 3 collectives and a baseball-only collective, which is really interesting. But ultimately, you mentioned competitive balance. I think more so it's not that having one is going to allow you to climb the ladder. I think for some people it might. Tennessee's a little bit ahead of the game right now, and maybe that can help them because they're well organized and well funded right now, certainly more so than most. But ultimately, a year or two from now, if you have not embraced this and you can just sort of say, well, we got some guys who have some deals, you don't have some kind of firm talks and some understanding of what deals are going to be like day one on campus, it's going to be hard for you to recruit. It just is. So I think ultimately, more so than the upward mobility, I think the danger is places that don't embrace this, that don't have collectives, that stand in the way of their collectives, make it hard for them to help finance, guys and get money to guys are going to fall behind. I feel pretty confident in that. This is the new frontier of the college football arms race. It's like saying, well, we don't need an indoor facility, 10, 15 years ago when everybody's building on there. This is where it is now.
Speaking with David Ubben of The Athletic here on Main Street Sports Today. David, as you look at this new frontier, this new Wild Wild West, are the collectives going to be recruiting against those development departments at the local universities in these cases? I mean, are they swimming in the same pool in terms of who they're trying to, for lack of a better phrase, extract money from?
Yeah, that's where I think it's going to be really interesting. Spire talked a little bit about how Tennessee, they have had the attitude of a rising tide lifts all boats. And so it's, in a lot of cases, donors are giving in addition to what they give to the university, but not all cases. And if they divert some money right now, Tennessee feels okay with that because they feel like, hey, if it fuels us having a better college football program, it's all going to even out in the end. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case at all 130 FBS schools or 70 P5 schools. And I think it might be different if a major donor decides, hey, I'm going to take all my money out of the Tennessee fund and move it into NIL. I could see that being an issue. But right now it hasn't been a problem. And I think that will be a friction moving forward because this is a paradigm shift in college sports. And again, some guys might say, well, why do I want to finance stadium upgrades when I can give my money directly to making sure that we get that 4-star linebacker or that 5-star quarterback? I think that's really attractive for a lot of people.
David, one last question, and this is the one that I think is going to be the shocker to everyone. How much money are we really talking about here?
I think the going rate for the 2023 class, we've heard from multiple people about $10 million if you want to have a big-time class, and that number is going to go up. And, the majority of the deals that Spire did with recruits in this incoming class were for 6 digits. So that's pretty sizable money. That's real money that can have real effects. And that's only going to go up because, again, this is an arms race. It just is. And I don't know where the end is, but I know it's not $10 million. $20 million? Is it $25 million? I'm not sure. The Spire's in the space, and this is their baby. And they have said, they're prepared and expecting that their budget needs to be $25 million in the very near future. And they've hired political fundraisers to that end, and they're getting pretty serious about that.
So you mean $10 million per class?
Per class, per year,
okay.
Yeah.
Annually, and it's only going
up. That's just football, right?
That would be, well, I guess in theory it could be anything else. That's kind of what they were talking about as their budget for the recruiting. Yeah. And that can change once guys get on campus and if they blow up and their deals get bigger. Maybe a basketball guy or two, some chipping in on women's basketball or baseball. But I think that $10 million in general is pretty baseline for an elite recruiting class in the class of 2023, because in the class of 2022, this really didn't take shape until the fall, November, October-ish, where guys realized they had a lot of leverage and could really make some money out of this. Because again, NIL didn't come until July, and it took people some time to get that. And so for this last recruiting class, I think Spire said that they had serious contact with 9 recruits, and Tennessee signed 7 of them. But this is going to be the first full recruiting class where recruits know the money is out there. They know they have leverage, and the guys who waited to commit had a lot more leverage in the last class. But this year, it's a free-for-all, as it always is, for, a year before signing day. So, guys are going to have leverage and can negotiate. and it's, the money's exploding. People always want to know what's the money now compared to the black market. Well, you had to be careful negotiating, in the previous years where your eligibility was at risk, because you hurt somebody's feelings or leave somebody angry, they can blow the whistle. But there's no whistle to blow now. You can negotiate pretty confidently and figure out what your value is. If you're a 5-star quarterback or a top 150 recruit, you're going to have real value compared to maybe a 3-star punter or a 3-star running back or whatever. It just sort of depends. So it's a new world, and people that adjust to it and move forward and embrace it are going to have a lot more success than people who are clamoring for, quite frankly, a college football that doesn't exist anymore.
That said, David Ubben of The Athletic, before we let you go, how much longer before we get agents at the collegiate level?
I mean, they're already happening right now. There's plenty of agents that are out there. I mean, Bryce Young had an agent last July. He's repped by CAA. But a bunch of players already have agents as it stands right now. It's just going to kind of depend on, can an agent get you more money? Do you have a lot of media crush? Do you have a lot of people calling you up and you need somebody to sort through what you're going to do? So it's going to be very different. It's going to be decisions, independently from every guy. Every player is not going to have an agent, but a bunch of players will. A bunch of players already do.
Yep. It's a weird world we live in now. Think of all the things, the tattoos and the Maurice Clarettes of the world, the Jim Tressels of the world, all looking, going, hey, I was just ahead of my time. Anyway, David,
I think too few people just didn't, they heard this guy broke the rules, and not enough people stopped and thought about how stupid the rules were for a long time. If you were building up college football from scratch, I know people aren't always the most comfortable with this new world, but if you were building up college football from scratch, it would look a lot more than it does right now than it did 5 years ago. If you built that 5 years ago and you said, okay, these programs are going to make $100, $150 million in some cases, and the players are going to get a scholarship and aren't allowed to make any money outside of that, that's an evil, unjust system. The current system, people might be uncomfortable with it, but it makes a lot more sense. It's certainly far more fair and equitable. And, I'm sensitive to people who aren't quite sure where this is going and aren't quite sure what this all kind of means. But ultimately, when you've been restricting the free market for pretty much the entirety of your enterprise, and then you flip on the fire hose basically with 2 weeks notice, there's going to be some upheaval. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. And we'll see how this all goes when it shakes out in the long run.
Speaking of innovations to football, we'll tell you what our top 5 football innovations would be. Thanks for taking some time, David. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back after a 30-second break here on Main Street Sports Today to give you our top 5, so stick around.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Young, Mo Patton, Andrew the Earl, and JP Plant on the controls. I'm interested because for this next segment here, and we may not get 5 out of this. I don't know. I've got a few, but I think there are a couple of things that I definitely want to get into here, and I may not go 5 to 1.
I don't have 5.
Well, the reason, because I think they're all equal to me. There's one that absolutely has to happen, and I want to start with that one, and we'll get this is going to be a unique top 5 discussion here, because the number one thing that I think needs to happen.
Top 5 Tuesday is presented
That's
by Mid-South 5 Fitness. Alice Steele, getting folks' bodies right, regardless of what it is that they're trying to do with said bodies. So go check him out. 2 locations, one in Columbia, one in Franklin. You can reach him via email at Steele, STEEL athletes. So check him out.
That's right.
Now,
the number one thing that I think has to happen ASAP is we got to get microchips in footballs. It is 2022 and we are still eyeballing this thing.
well, I see what you're saying. I just think it's a matter. If we know where the football is, then the microchip doesn't. What does that change?
First and 10. Why are we eyeballing an inch?
So where are you going to put the chip? You going to put it in the middle of the football? You going to put it on both noses? How does that work? You get
I think
multiple microchips?
No, it's one microchip. So the AAF did this.
Mhm.
It's one microchip. It's in the middle. It's under the laces of the football, and it has a it's like a ruler type thing where it tells you where the tip of the football should be.
And then who's reading it? Is it being read upstairs?
It's basically being it's connected to the chains. So your 10-yard marker
has a reader,
and it'll say green or red on the marker
if the ball is where it should be, or
correct.
if it's not.
This is not hard.
No,
this is technology we should have, right?
Would make sense.
I mean, just ask Tennessee and Ole Miss. We wouldn't have had mustard bottles on the field if we'd have had microchips in the footballs. That's all I'm saying.
I think.
Let it go.
Let
it go.
Good luck with that. I think my biggest thing is, can you not put a laser at each of the goal lines to tell me if the plane has been broken?
Microchip could work for that too.
Football?
Yeah,
that's the thing. A microchip would work for that too.
Okay,
same thing. But yes, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and if not a microchip, then give me a laser on 2 markers
shooting across.
to go across the field. Yeah. This isn't rocket surgery.
No, it's not rocket surgery, Bobby Johnson.
Wow.
I mean, I just think that there are too many technological advances that haven't been taken advantage of to the fullest. What about you, JP? What say you?
Any ideas?
You guys have mentioned a couple of things. Innovations. I think I don't know where this ranks, but I think adding the 2-point conversion in was a good thing. And I like where they've moved the extra point back. You can, to make it interesting so it's not automatic. I like that rule change.
Andrew, are there any innovations that you would like to see?
There's actually 3 that might.
Well, give us one.
The kickoff rules are boring. The offside, or not the offside, but the onside kicks are pointless, and the overtime rules just infuriate me.
Okay, so how do we change the onside kick rule?
Allow the players to get that running head start like they might have been able to a couple years ago. They were able to do that, or just try to find some way to make it more exciting, just to completely eliminate it. Maybe like a 4th and 10 conversion, or like a long field goal conversion, or something like that to
give you possession.
Something that gives you a reason to actually do it, other than just lamely kicking a ball and it bouncing straight to the opposing team.
So do you remember the AAF doing that 4th and 10 from your own 35?
I do.
I think that's something that has to change as well. I agree with you, because one, onside kicks are dangerous, because once you go up in the air, you're not allowed to hit them, or it's a penalty. But if you do, you still might hurt somebody.
Right.
And I want my offense to have that opportunity. Now, in arena football, it was great because, the ball hit the net and it might bounce back to the 5. I mean, that was always fun. You never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
That ball was bouncing everywhere. But in outdoor football, the way it sits, to me, that was one of mine, is the 4th and 10 instead of an onside kick.
I'd change the overtime rule before those first two, but, you know.
Yeah. We've talked about the overtime rule a few times here on this show. But anyway.
I think another one, I think you could put an official in the press box that actually has the power to make calls. It may slow the game down a little bit, but I mean, they can be in a field official's ear or something as well. But I just think that there are things that take place that aren't necessarily seen on the field that are still infractions.
I would agree with that completely, especially, yes, it would probably slow the game down, but maybe not any more than any other flag. But the problem is that you could probably throw a flag on every play, right? So it's a matter of how egregious does it have to be? Is it, does it have to be as egregious as the Rams-Saints pass interference that wasn't called? Or can it be maybe you just saw a holding away from the play?
Don't they already have kind of that in play to where they can call down?
Not.
Well, they can call down and make them review.
They have it in place, but they don't use it.
Well, I mean, they can make them review. I mean, I think maybe somebody should actually be able to throw a flag. Throw a flag.
I don't know. I don't think you'll get officials operating efficiently on the field if you have that in place. And the length, I don't see that being efficient.
I'm not saying, I don't. I do think that it would probably, get somebody looking over your shoulder at all times. But that also,
some of these guys need somebody looking over their shoulders.
That was what I was going to say. Is some folks might need it. So, and that again, that's something the AAF had, was the eye in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are things that can really improve the game of football. I think the kickoff rules are changed, but are boring, but I don't know how to change that. I don't know how not kicking off makes it more exciting, because kickoffs are some of the most exciting plays in the game.
When you break one,
it's a win they have. Yeah.
and again, overtime is probably the biggest thing at the NFL level. Yeah. So.
I think that's going to do it. We only got like a minute left, so
that's probably going to do it.
We will take it. A weird top 5, but I think it got the job done.
It's a little different, but
because again, that's what the XFL is for. New equipment, new rules. How do we make the game better? How do we make it evolve into 2022, 2023? Let's figure it out. And I love that the NFL is willing to at least think about it.
It's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll take. USFL draft tonight. We'll talk about
also UT Missouri and Alabama Vanderbilt tonight.
I'm excited about that Alabama Vanderbilt game. I'm probably going to end up watching a little bit of it.
Also, Summertown Loretto boys tonight out at Mount Pleasant.
Round 3.
Yeah, if it doesn't get too wet. So,
y'all
come
go
on
check it out. All right, that's going to do it for JP. Andrew, thank you again. Mo, I'm Chris Yao. Having said that, we wish you a great 2-2-2-2-2 Tuesday.